this meeting of the Rotary Club of Oakland to order. Damn, it's good to be back in the ballroom. Thank you for coming today. We've got everybody out there in Zoom land. We've got a really good group here in the ballroom today. So I'm Dudley Thompson, and I have the honor to serve as the president of the Rotary Club of Oakland. We were founded in 1908. And we're the third established club of some 36,000 Rotary clubs in over 200 countries around the world. We're a diverse community of some 270 business, professional, and community leaders who unite to improve our local and international communities through a common commitment of service above self. For over 113 years, we've welcomed Rotarians and guests to our club meetings, and I welcome you to this, our 5,378th meeting. For those of you online, if you're a visiting Rotarian or the guest of a Rotarian, please enter your name in the chat box. It's located at the center of the bottom of the screen so that we can recognize you in a few minutes. If you have comments or want to ask a question of the speaker today, please use the chat box. We recommend that you view today's meeting using Speaker View, located in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. For those of you who are here in the California Ballroom, I ask that you do not use your electronic device to watch the meeting on Zoom or to connect with the Wi-Fi, the ballroom Wi-Fi. For the near future, our club protocol will require that you wear a mask inside if you're not eating or drinking. We're still trying to make this space as safe as possible for our members and guests and have a great meeting. I also ask that you refrain from talking during the meeting, as all of the sound in the ballroom here becomes background noise for our online broadcast. Gene Raines, would you lead us in the thought for the day?
Thought for the day. Inspiration and imagination go hand in hand. That was by Susan Felder.
Thank you, Gene. You're going to see a lot of Gene today. We're going to welcome some of our members that joined us online over the last couple months while we were on Zoom. Okay, good. Sandeepa, can you bring up the vision statement? So I'm going to take a side here. So over the holidays, we put, I don't know if you remember, there was a table here with a rat's nest of wires. Ralph Sklar and Alex worked tirelessly over the holidays and put everything into this magic box here. And instead of taking an hour to an hour and a half setting everything up, we've got it down so it should take about 15 minutes to half an hour. And we're looking for people to help. Dana Sack in 2 nights has become an expert at doing this. And if Dana can do it, you can do it. So please, and thank Dana. And thank Ralph and thank Alex. Okay, could you join me together in our Rotary Vision Statement? Together, we see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change across the globe, in our communities, and in ourselves. Past District Governor and past President Ed Jellen, do we have any visiting Rotarians today?
Yes, hi, President Dudley. Great to be back in this ballroom and great to see everybody. And we do have a distinguished visiting Rotarian. He is the president of the San Francisco Chinatown Rotary Club. Please welcome Rich Schwart.
And Rich has been visiting us rather regularly recently, and we're planning to do a project with the San Francisco Chinatown Rotary Club in early May to hand out really loud pocket alarms within the Asian community in Chinatown. And we look forward to doing that project with you, Richard. Thank you.
Did we miss any visiting Rotarians? Any other visiting Rotarians here?
Okay. Do we have any other guests in the room today? So Jean's second job today is to be mic runner. She's learning fast.
And Today, my guest is
Who are you?
Keith Uriarte.
Oh, yeah? I haven't seen you
Still,
forever.
and with the probationary badge. Today, my guest is Creighton Davis. Creighton Davis is an attorney with Facebook Meta. He is also the chair of the Oakland Community Policing Advisory Board. And anyway, it's my pleasure to introduce to everybody Creighton Davis.
Do we have any other guests in the room? Sandeepa, or do we have any guests out there on Zoom?
We do not have any guests here out on Zoom.
Okay, what I heard is that there are no other guests on Zoom today.
That is correct. You heard right.
We do have visiting Rotarian Gudrun Dybdal and John Gresley.
So I heard Gudrun Dybdal and John Gresley are out there on Zoom.
Yes,
Correct.
that's correct.
Their face, can you get that? Is that possible to highlight them?
Yes, we can.
You sort of remember these people. Both of them are past presidents, by the way.
We have
I don't know.
on the
Are we
screen.
able to highlight?
Oh,
Be able to spotlight? Can you do it, Sandeepa? Maybe we can get you sometime in there, John and Gudrun.
Yeah,
We remember you. Thanks for coming today. Okay.
thank you.
So we were able to get this equipment together, but we've only done 1 or 2 practice runs with the new equipment. So this is new. We'll get it.
Oh, Iris is there too.
Maybe they'll just magically appear. There we go. Yay! Howdy, John. Howdy, Gudrun. It's good to have you with us today. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great to be here with you.
So we have, I'm going to kind of work these things into the meeting today, but we have a few upcoming events. I'll mention a couple right now. First of all, Tuesday was International Women's Day. This is International Women's Month. I don't know, Sandeepa, can you get the flyer up there? I'm going to talk for about 1 minute here. The district is holding its International Women's Conference. It's a 2-hour, 3-hour conference Sunday afternoon. Our club has a table there promoting our club, and that's not it, but there we go. I would really like to have some help because we're going to have 2 men sitting at the table promoting international women to join our club. So I would really hope that some people would sign up and join us on that. So it's Sunday afternoon from 4 till 7. Great speakers, great networking. It'll be in San Jose. Second thing is we have a volunteer event coming up on March 20th. It's the Oakland Marathon, and we are taking care of 2 of the water stops. You can sign up on our website. There's a link to sign up. You have to sign up individually with the marathon, but when you sign up, you indicate you're with 15 more people to sign up for that. If it says minimum is met, sign up anyway. They want well more than the minimum at each water stop. And it was the last time we did it was in 19. I think we had like 25 people that volunteered. So please sign up for the Oakland Marathon. Okay, let's do next. Renea Webb, would you please come up and introduce Kathy Adams to us? Although I think half the room at least knows Kathy, but
Good afternoon, fellow Rotarians. My name is Renea Webb, Chief of Staff to Council President Pro Tem Shang Tao, one of the directors of this club. I'm really happy to introduce our newest Rotarian. I want to thank past President Sess and President Dudley. This is a part of our initiative to partner with our local chambers here. And so This is Miss Kathy Adams here, who is actually the president of the Oakland African American Chamber of Commerce, and she's also the founder of the National Coalition of the 100 Black Women. And so I'm just really happy and proud that we're going to have Miss Kathy Adams join us. And as a fun fact, I bet you guys wouldn't believe that she has a crush on Frasier. And she has to watch Frasier every night before she goes to sleep. And also, she's a lover of blues. So if you all would please stand up and give a warm welcome to Miss Kathy Adams.
So Kathy, we're happy that you've chosen to join us. We know that please know that your friends and your family are always welcome to join us and participate in our meetings or our projects. By choosing to join us, you've accepted the Rotary Vision Statement that we read before, and also agreed to conduct your affairs according to the four-way test. And in your packet here, you have a framed copy of the four-way test. There we go, which many of us have on our office walls or at home. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And will it be beneficial to all concerned? I have for you your red badge indicating your new member status. And you'll know that she wrote down she wanted to be called Kitty Adams, and so we spent all morning deciding whether she's going to be called Kitty or Kathy, and that's her choice. Here's your club book, which includes basic information, the history, and a roster of your new 270 best friends. Your Rotary pin, which is a symbol that identifies you as a Rotarian. We hope you'll wear it with pride. Your commitment is to attend meetings, participate in service activities, practice service above self, and contribute to the Rotary Foundation and the Oakland Rotary Endowment. It's my pleasure and privilege to induct you as our newest member of the Rotary Club of Oakland. Welcome.
Thank you.
So we're going to take a minute here because we had two people. Jean Raines, could you come up here, please? And Dawn Hills. So while we were on Zoom all during January and February, we had two members who joined us. And I just want to give you your badges and your Rotary pins. So Jean, come on up, Dawn. This is Jean Raines, and this is Dawn Hills. And I think it's time to give them a standing ovation. Thank you, everyone. Yes, Keith Jerome. Thank you very much. Keith Jerome rings the bell for Jean Raines. And for those of you that are new, a bell ringer is a generous $100 gift to the Oakland Rotary Endowment. Seth Butner. I'd like to ring the bell for Kathy Adams. Seth Butner would like to ring the bell for Kathy Adams. Yes, Jean? Okay. Thank you. Jean Raines rings the bell for Dawn. Now, and we have another bell ringer for, good Lord here. I'm going to keep this meeting open as long as there's bell ringers. You all know that. So we could be here till 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock. Okay, thank you. Next thing is in this, Bob Barth. Are you listening and way in the back? Bob Barth? Oh, there you are. You are in the room. So this is a little thing you all should know. I'm sure you've all read your current issue of Rotary Magazine and that you all read every letter to the editor, because if you did this month, and I'm sure that you all read the letter to the editor that Bob Barth wrote to Rotary. And I won't read the entire letter, but it has to do very much with the Environment Committee has been asking us to take use the calculator for our own carbon footprint, but Bob suggested that everybody who attends the Rotary International Conference this year by offsetting carbon, what do you call them, carbon neutral, yeah, you got it. and that the convention determine what their carbon footprint is, and also by offsetting carbon. You got it. And I'm going to be going back to Iowa in April, and I'll buy them too. So anyway. Read this and ask Bob about it. Bob can get you hooked up as you travel. He recommends to determine how much driving you do. If you fly, just by offsetting carbon offsets, certified offsets. Okay.
President Dudley, we have a bell ringer online.
Hey, no, we've been in Rotary Magazine like 3 or 4 times over the past year. It's been great for our club. Okay, Linda Hamilton. There you are. Okay, would you take this over? We have some people really special people we're going to recognize today.
All right. Thank you, President Dudley. Hi, everybody. Good to see you again in the flesh. I have the honor today to reintroduce a group of Rotarians I call the illustrious 7. 7 Oakland Rotarians who have each been a member of this club for over 40 years. First up, am I doing this right? Yep, it turned off, hold on. Let me turn this back on. It's not working. No, laser pointer is not working. Hold on a second here. Technical difficulty. 41 years. 41. Worked just a moment ago. What did you do? It worked just a moment ago. And I wasn't even trying to get a cat to chase it or anything.
Okay.
Okay, I'll just give you a note. All right, so Q, first up is Mike Brock. Woo! All right, Q again. Q. All right, can I do this? There you go. When Mike became an Oakland Rotarian in March 1981, Raiders of the Lost Ark had just come out. Sandra Day O'Connor became the first female justice of the U.S. Supreme Court. President Ronald Reagan was shot, and the Space Shuttle Columbia returned to Earth as the first reusable spacecraft ever built. Meetings when Mike first became a Rotarian were held at Goodman Hall, Q, in Jack London Square. Could you guys advance it, please? Q. Attendance was mandatory, and women would not be allowed as members for another 6 years. In those days, new members doing club service had to wear a powder blue sport coat with a rotary wheel on the pocket, and Mike remembers that all the jackets provided for him were too large. The first committee job was to sell tickets to the Oakland A's baseball games. Past President Art Hecht informed Mike that he would also serve on the new Camp Enterprise Committee, and he attended the very first Camp Enterprise in 1981. Mike went on to become club president in 2013, 2014, and Oakland Rotary provided him the opportunity to serve on many nonprofit boards in our city, travel to do international service, and make many wonderful friends. When Bob Peltz became an Oakland Rotarian in December 1980, there we go, it's not working. Oh, there we go. The Empire Strikes Back had recently debuted. President Jimmy Carter was dealing with the Iran hostage crisis. The U.S. boycotted the 1980 Summer Olympics in the Soviet Union, and a record number of viewers watched the TV show Dows to find out who shot J.R. Ewing. Bob was chairman of the sports committee for many years, enjoying a lot of golf with, with fellow Rotarians. He also attended the first Camp Enterprise, teaching students about banking. Before his career, Bob had been an Air Force navigator with over 3,000 hours of flight, many to pick up wounded soldiers in Vietnam. He served on the Oakland Rotary and Endowment Boards, enjoyed hosting exchange students, and fondly remembers attending makeup meetings abroad, like one in Israel where they all spoke Hebrew. When Bob and Linda lost their home in the Oakland Hills fire in 1991, Bob worked on service projects to help other victims. In April of 1975, when Jack McAvoy joined the club, Margaret Thatcher was the British Prime Minister and Gerald Ford the US President. NBC aired the first ever episode of Saturday Night Live. Queen released their song Bohemian Rhapsody, and Muhammad Ali defeated Joe Frazier in the Thriller in Vanilla. One of Jack's first committee experiences, was interviewing young Mills College students for international fellowships. He pretty much served on any committee Dr. Carl Stuckey asked him to. At that time, as Jack says, Rotary was, quote unquote, a bunch of successful white men in business suits, having fun, doing good, and doing business with one another. Jack thus became a huge supporter of club diversification and fought to allow women as members. Early Rotary memories for Jack include his trip to Russia soon after the transition from being the USSR to teach young business people about the free enterprise system, being a board member when the club decided to start Camp Enterprise, and having Senator Alan Cranston as the speaker the day he did his self-introduction here in the California Ballroom. He had the honor to serve as club president in 1993-94 when the HOPE program was introduced, and also chaired our centennial celebration. Also in 1975, Jerry Went joined Oakland Rotary. Woo! Encouraged by, among others, an old fraternity brother at Cal, Sheldon Crandall. Some of Jerry's favorite service projects have included the club's contribution to relighting the Lake Merritt Necklace of Lights in 1985, World Community Service projects, Rotary Global Scholarships and Cerrone Lena Scholarships, and ongoing work to defeat polio, although he thinks Bill Gates should give Rotary more credit. Serving as club president in 1986-87, he was honored to usher women into Rotary his year. He theorized that without the addition of women, Rotary might not have survived. Instead, it became an even more vital organization. One Thanksgiving, Jerry and fellow Rotarians Roger Huddlestone and Ted Normart thought it would be fun to have a turkey drawing for a live turkey. When they brought it flapping onto this stage, the drawing winner politely declined his prize, and it was the only turkey to return alive to its farm in Fairfield. Jerry knows firsthand that as a member of Oakland Rotary, you can meet new people, increase your social center of gravity, and make lifelong friends. Dr. Tom Love joined Oakland Rotary in March 1972. At the time, U.S. President Richard Nixon was facing the Watergate scandal. The last draft lottery was held for Vietnam War. The new Atari company introduced an arcade game called Pong. The television series MASH had begun, and The Godfather was #1 in the box office. There were 415 members meeting at the Leamington Hotel at Tom's first meeting. Many were key leaders of major companies once based in Oakland. Tom has been board director, chair of the entertainment committee, and many others, and especially enjoyed international service. He worked on the hospital project in San Salvador with Carl Stuckey and spent 3 weeks in Zimbabwe working with local Rotarians on projects for underserved people in remote areas of that country. This inspired him as an oral surgeon to serve on 80 short-term mission teams in 20 different countries. When Sheldon Crandall became a member in December 1970, the Vietnam War was raging. Elvis Presley was still touring, and the Jackson 5 was top of the pops. The first Earth Day was celebrated in the US, and Pan Am flew the first 747 jet. Sheldon, an Army CB vet, was just a young buck in real estate when he was sponsored into the club. It was a bit of a shock when he arrived to the meeting, and member Wally Bruner told him to get up on stage and do his 3-minute introduction. Sheldon had to improvise. He served on and headed up many committees, recognized that committee work was the best opportunity to really get to know fellow members. He chaired the classification committee, which was definitely more of a thing back then, the administration committee, the membership committee, and more. He especially enjoyed his work on the house building committee. And finally, we have our longest time member of our club, Richard Capp Lyons. When Capp became member in November 1964, President Lyndon B. Johnson signed the Civil Rights Act into law, and the free speech movement began with protest at UC Berkeley. The Beatles had just released their first album, and Cassius Clay, not yet Muhammad Ali, was crowned the heavyweight champion of the world. Oh, and also the U.S. government for the first time said that smoking may be hazardous to one's health. Capp was chair of the Cerrone Lena Scholarship Committee for many years. He put on a day at the races for the sports committee and served the Rotary Foundation and Rotary Endowment committees. And talk about an achievement. Up until the pandemic, Capp had perfect attendance at meetings with 56 years of perfect attendance. Together, these gentlemen have been Rotarians, Oakland Rotarians, for count them 280 years. Please stand with me and provide thunderous applause to honor our illustrious seven.
Jack McAvoy. Thank you, Jack. Jack rings the bell for Linda Hamilton. I'm going to start off by ringing the bell for the illustrious seven, Dudley Thompson. Fred Morse. Fred Morse rings the bell for the illustrious seven. Mary Rudzer rings the bell. Teresa Wayan. Sean Marks. Phil Holt. Linda Bosenecker. Karen Friedman, Mary Jiang, Robert Kidd, Sheldon Crandall, I can't forget you, Sheldon, I'm stumbling here, Ed Jellen, Rick Baskin, great, Michael Bruck, Jason Weiselman. Thank you, everybody. Oh, Seth Butner's going to get in here. So are you going to match this, Seth?
Before Seth can match, we should speak about the online bell ringers.
Just a moment. Sandeepa, we need to mute you for just a moment because I know you've got bell ringers. Seth, go ahead. Okay. Seth Butner rings the bell 7 times for the 7. Thank you, Seth. Sandeepa.
Hey, so first of all, Joycey Mack rings the bell for Kathy.
Joycey Mack.
Rings the bell for Kathy.
For Kathy Adams.
Yes. And then we have Elida Scola, Ruth Strop.
Just a moment, I'm going to do one at a time. Elida Scola.
Yeah, Ruth Strop. Daniel Chang.
Oh, Daniel Cheng.
Joe Goralka.
Joe Goralka.
Joycey Mack.
Joycey Mack.
Harold Loaf.
Harold Lowe.
Pat Williams.
Pat Williams.
Georgia Richardson.
Georgia Richardson.
And Tom Limon. Did you want to ring a bell? You just said Tom Limon. Yes, he says yes with 2 thumbs up. Does that mean 2 times?
2 times for Tom Limon.
Yes. That's it.
Good.
We're all caught up.
Okay, if there's a few more, we'll catch them at the end. Now, we're going to go over 5 minutes because Leanne Alameda, I don't mean to put the speaker off, but we got to do the ORE campaign, Leanne. Sandeep, I hope you have Leanne's presentation, please.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Oh, I can take this off. Just hoping Sandeepa can bring up the presentation.
Have the presentation, Leanne, get started, please.
I didn't hear that. Oh, get started, okay. Well, I'm Leanne Alameda. I am the chair of the Oakland Rotary Board, and I'm here today to talk about our campaign for the Rotary Club of Oakland to fund the important programs and service projects that our club does. When you become a Rotarian, that is it. Thank you. Can you play it?
Yeah, working on it.
All right. When you become a Rotarian, we commit to investing and making a positive difference in our community. We do that by being on our committees, participating in service projects, and in making a financial contribution so our club can support these important causes long-term by donating to the endowment. Can you go to the next slide? In just the past 6 years, we've been able to invest more than $1.16 million in these efforts and provide grants for 65 deserving nonprofits that are on the ground locally doing really critical work. Your donation supports our club's programs, such as the Housing and Food Insecurity Committee, our Cerrone Lena scholarships and mentorship programs we provide to young people, the Community Service Committee, and Kinder Prep, which you'll learn more about in the next few minutes. Next slide. Any amount can help. $50 can provide 2 wellness backpacks for veterans. A donation of $250 can provide a school teacher with much needed supplies for the year. $1,000 can help a nonprofit purchase a computer to give homeless people access to online benefits, job assistance, and training. And $2,500 donation can support our first generation college students through the Cerrone Lena program and cover their tuition costs for a year. So now I'd like to turn it over to John Holmgren, who will be telling us more about Kinder Prep's work. And John, I think, is online.
Thank you, Leanne. I appreciate your giving me a chance to spotlight our committee. Well, what better way to support the Oakland community than by supporting Oakland?
And Sandeepa, can you forward the slide? Oh, I think this is last week's presentation, Sandeepa, if you can pull today's.
John, you're muted.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I could see me being muted and unmuted, and I wasn't sure why. In any case, I'm not sure what you heard, so what better way to support our community than by supporting our youth and the teachers who nurture them? In the past few years, the Kinder Prep Committee has provided gift cards for teachers to provide classroom supplies, as Leanne indicated. We have created virtual science kits for kids in a virtual learning environment to support education in this trying time. We have supported a virtual library to support schools that don't have and will never have libraries. We have sponsored field trips in years past. We've had to suspend that the last couple of years, but we do hope to put them on this spring to Fairyland or the zoo. That's an excellent opportunity for Rotarians to contribute and to participate because chaperones are needed for those events. In past years, we provided classroom volunteers. We've had to suspend that in COVID, but we hope to get back to that in the fall. And perhaps most importantly, and what's going on right now is our summer book program, another thing that had to be suspended during COVID, but we are starting it up again to provide books for summer learning for Oakland's TK students. Relatively new member Maud Pervier is on our committee and is spearheading that effort. That will be another volunteer opportunity for Rotarians when we do our book packing project and when we deliver the summer books to classrooms late in the school year. So I hope that all of you will support ORE so that we can continue the great work we do at Kinder Prep. And I hope to see you as volunteers in some of our upcoming events.
Great, thank you, John. Sandeep, if you can bring up the last slide from today's presentation. So great examples that John has shared about how important this work can be. We have a big goal to raise $100,000 in this campaign, and thanks to the generosity of past President Seth Butner, who donated $25,000, we're already nearly at $50,000, but we really need your help today to help us reach our goal. If you're on Zoom, please put a pledge in the chat. On your tables here, we have pledge forms and pens. Please fill that out and pass it to me or Jesse at the end of the meeting. Go ahead and go online to our website to donate there, or you all should have received a packet last week with the donation form, which you can send back in the mail. And our campaign will culminate with our gala that is coming up. Hopefully you all got the invite on April 28th. Thank you for supporting the Oakland Rotary Endowment.
Thank you, Leanne. David Stein, are you out there?
I'm here, President Dudley.
Could you please introduce our speaker, Mr. Williams?
I would be delighted. Droughts, fire, climate change, how do they all tie together? Park Williams is a professor of geography at UCLA. A hydroclimatologist, Park's research aims to understand the causes and consequences of hydrological extremes such as drought. Much of his research focuses on the effects of human-caused climate change on the hydrological cycle, ecological systems, and humanity through extreme events such as heat waves, wildfires, and flooding. Park leads the High Fives research groups in the UCLA Department of Geography, which studies the causes and consequences of changes in water availability across the Earth's continents. A noted author and national speaker, he is a lead author of an influential study on our topic today, mega droughts in the Western United States. Please give a warm Rotary welcome to Park Williams.
Thanks very much. Can you hear me and see the slide?
Yes.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much. It's been a lot of fun to attend the first half hour or so of this meeting. You guys seem like a really great group. You are right now looking at a satellite image of a day that you probably remember. You probably don't remember the exact date, but you remember the event if you're anywhere in coastal California, because you would have been absolutely inundated by smoke. This was in September 2020. 2020 and 2021 were two just absolutely horrendous smoke years for California, but part of a long-term trend toward more fire during our summers in California and actually across all of Western North America. The reason I study what I study, which is climate change and drought, is because when the Earth's climate changes, it turns out that the distribution of water across our continents change. And when the distribution of water across the continents changes, then the distribution of life changes. And there are examples from this littered across Earth's history. Earth has kept clues for us, telling us what has happened over millions of years. Many of you probably don't know that between just 6,000 and 9,000 years ago, which is really the blink of an eye in geologic time, the Sahara Desert, which we know today is one of the most barren parts of the world, was actually lush with life. There were lakes all over the desert. Lake levels were high. There are cave paintings from people living in the desert showing abundant animal life. And even today, there are crocodiles that are trapped in oases. These crocodile populations thrived in wet areas just 6,000 to 9,000 years ago, and now they're kind of stuck relics of this wetter time. The wetness was just caused by the Northern Hemisphere getting more sunlight than it does today, it turns out. Well, at the same time that Northern Africa was so wet, about a half of 10,000 years ago, Western North America was actually quite a bit drier than it is today. This picture was taken just a few years ago from about 60 feet deep in Lake Tahoe. And what we're looking at is a Native American grinding stone. It's estimated to be about 6,000 years old. So this would have been a shoreline site 6,000 years ago, not deep underwater. This means that for a long time, about 6,000 years ago, Lake Tahoe And many of the other lakes in the Sierra Nevada were much lower than they are today because of drier conditions. Well, today we've seen a shift toward drier conditions as well. If you look at Lake Mead, which is the biggest human-made reservoir in the Western United States, or in the entire United States, we've seen a huge drop in lake levels. In summer of 2021, Lake Mead hit its record low level. Lake Powell, which is just upriver on the Colorado River, also hit its lowest level. As reservoir storage has declined, it's become harder or less reliable to have water for agriculture. That has caused the agricultural industry in the Central Valley to mine water from the ground faster than ever before, and the ground is being mined so quickly that the level, the elevation of the ground of the Central Valley is actually declining. We are squeezing out the sponge of dirt that is the Central Valley, and the water that is in the Central Valley is in many cases tens of thousands of years old, meaning that it's going to take a long time to be able to replenish these water reserves. This isn't the type of thing that will recover after 1 or 2 lucky wet years. We've seen giant outbreaks of bark beetles across the West due to drought. When trees are drought stressed, they have less sap, and they use the sap to kill bark beetles. They effectively just suffocate and squirt out bark beetles. But when trees are drought stressed, they can't defend themselves and they die due to bark beetle outbreaks. And we've of course seen this giant ramp up in wildfire activity, especially in the forested areas of the Western United States. So things have been looking fairly grim here for the last couple of decades. How bad have they really been though? How does this compare to other droughts that the Western US has seen over the last 120 years? Well, we can answer that question in a pretty straightforward way, actually, using modeling. And the modeling is pretty simple. If we just pretend that the landscape is covered in buckets, as long as we know how much precipitation there was going into the buckets and what the temperature and humidity and wind speed and sunlight were doing in a given month, which all dictate how fast the water gets pulled out of buckets, then we can check in on the bucket levels in any given month over the last century or so of time that we have good climate data, and we can see how low or high the water level is in the bucket, and that tells us how bad or good the drought status was. Well, here's a map of how good or bad the drought status was during September of 2000, or during the summer of 2021, that's last year. And for every spot here across North America, I'm showing you how last summer's drought ranked compared to the drought levels in all of the other summers since 1901. The dark or brown says it was drier than average. Green says it was wetter than average. And so you can see that where you are sitting right now, last summer was experiencing the driest conditions in at least 121 years of careful record keeping. Now, it wasn't record-breaking dry everywhere across the West, but if you average across that whole Western area, then last year was right around the record driest year in the last 120 years for the Western US, or what I call the Southwest North American study region. This time series plot that I'm showing you shows you what the drought status was every single year for this region. You can see that 2021 was second only to 2002. And during the 22 years since the year 2000, 18 years have been drier than average. Now, you probably remember that there have been a few wet years here and there, but there have been far more dry years than wet years. And so overall, this is why our lake levels of the big reservoirs like Lakes Mead and Powell, and why the the Central Valley groundwater levels have been depleted so much, is because even after a couple of wet years, we have not been able to, at any point in the last couple of decades, dig ourselves out of bad drought. The question then is this due to human-caused climate change, or is this regular old bad luck? And it's really important to be careful about this question, because there is evidence all over the landscape that regular old bad luck can cause terrible droughts. We see in a lake in Yosemite, we see trees that are still rooted to the bottom of the lake, meaning that about 1,000 years ago, when this tree was rooted there, the lake level was low enough for this tree to be able to grow and survive for quite some time. That, of course, was in the absence of human-caused climate change. We also have huge so-called mega drought events that occurred in the 1100s and 1200s that caused the depopulation of these cliff-dwelling societies in the southwestern US, like Chaco Canyon and Mesa Verde. These occurred without the influence of human-caused climate change. So there's a lot of room for bad luck. We can try and answer this question about how bad our current drought is in a longer term perspective using tree ring records, it turns out. Here you're looking at a picture of a cross section of a Douglas fir tree from the southwest US. Each ring represents a year of growth. The skinny rings grow during years when there was drought, and so the tree was drought stressed, and the wide rings mean that conditions were wet. And you can see right here evidence of a big mega drought that occurred in the 1500s. These were called mega droughts by scientists in the 1900s because they were drier and longer lasting than anything that modern society had to develop to contend with during the 1800s or 1900s. So you can think of a mega drought as a drought that is outside of the bounds of what our infrastructure may be really built for. Well, we have tree ring records, not just from this one site, or not just from this one tree in the Southwest, but from thousands of trees, in fact, tens of thousands of trees across Western North America. And we can use these tree ring records together to tell us what drought was doing over the last, not just 100 years of record keeping, but over the last 1,200 years of tree ring records. When we take all of these tree ring records and combine them, then we get one single record of soil moisture for southwestern North America going back for 1,200 years. And that's what we're looking at here. Now, there's no year-to-year swings in this one because I've averaged the whole record with a 22-year filter. And the reason I've done that is because the current drought is 22 years long. And I would like to know how bad the last 22 years compare to the worst 22-year periods of these so-called mega droughts. And what we see is that clearly the last 22 years have been drier than any other 22-year period of observational records. They've also been drier, clearly drier than any other 22-year period in the last 400 years until we get back to this mega drought in the late 1500s. Well, after 22 years of this current drought, our best estimate is now that the last 22 years are actually drier than the worst 22-year period of the 1500s mega drought or the mega droughts that occurred previously. In at least 1,200 years, Western North America has very likely not seen a 22-year period as dry as the 2000s have been so far. Now, this is not the case everywhere. The slide that I'm showing you now are the results when I redo that reconstruction for every spot across the Western United States and Northern Mexico. And what we can see is that where you're sitting in the greater Bay Area, this was not the driest 22-year period in 1,200 years, but instead it was probably something like the 11th driest. But we humans move water across great distances, and therefore we're not so sensitive to what the drought status is where our feet are standing. Instead, we're concerned with what the drought status is across the larger area. A lot of the water in California comes from the northern Sierra Nevada and the Colorado River Basin. Those areas the last 22 years have ranked somewhere between the first and fifth worst 22-year periods in at least 1,200 years. So has this been caused by climate change, or is this regular old bad luck, or is it some kind of combination between the two? Well, here I'm showing you two really critical parts of the water balance. One is precipitation, and you can see that of the last 22 years, a lot of them have been drier than average. That's where the cause of the drought. But there have been some wet years as well, and you don't see a trend overall over the long term. The long-term average precipitation across the West has been pretty stable. But temperatures, you can clearly see, have been going up. They've increased now across the Western US by about 1.5 degrees Celsius, or almost 3 degrees Fahrenheit. And this is actually right in line with what climate models say should be expected due to human-caused climate change. The green line here is what climate models say should have happened. This is the average result of 29 different state-of-the-art climate models. The reason why hot temperatures are important to drought is the same reason why hot temperatures are important to your house plants. If the temperature goes up and you don't give more water to compensate for the increased thirst of the atmosphere, then your ecosystem or your house plant loses soil moisture. And so when we redo our bucket modeling, where we take precipitation and we take temperature and these other variables, but we redo it where we have now removed the contribution or the effect of human-caused climate trends, specifically temperature trends, then we see that the last 22 years still would have been a pretty important drought. It would have been probably the driest 22 years in the last 300 or 400 years, but it wouldn't be contenting with the mega droughts that occurred between the years 800 and 1600 AD. So this image that I'm showing you is flip-flopping back and forth between showing you how the observed drought compares to the mega droughts and how this hypothetical what if drought had occurred. I say the hypothetical drought because in the green, we're looking at the record of soil moisture that we calculate would have occurred if human-caused climate trends hadn't been going on. The ultimate takeaway here is that this current mega drought in the Western US and Northern Mexico is due to a combination of two things. One, regular old bad luck, but also human-caused climate change. And our estimate is that about 40% of the drought's severity is due to human-caused climate change, and 60% is due to bad luck. The bad luck is really associated mostly with anomalous conditions in the tropical Pacific Ocean, which tend to slish-slosh back and forth. Good luck will come sometime in the next decade, I'm convinced, but as warming continues, it's going to take more and more good luck to have a year similar to what we would have considered to be an average year in the 1900s. And it'll take less and less bad luck to fall back into a future drought because temperatures are increasing. And so I'll just conclude by showing you this pair of maps. The left map is the one that we already saw, showing how the last 22 years rank compared to the driest 22-year periods in the last 1200 years. And the map on the right is our hypothetical world map, showing you how the drought rankings would have been distributed if climate change hadn't occurred. And what it's showing you is that in the southwestern US, we probably still would have experienced some pretty serious drought due to a lot of La Nina years during the 2000s. But across a lot of the West, including the Bay Area, this wouldn't even be a top 15 drought event in the last 1200 years, meaning this drought event would have been something like a once every 50 to 100 year event, not a once every 500 to 2000 year event. And with that, I will conclude. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Williams. Are there any questions? Fred, Dana, could you get a mic to Fred? Just a moment. We're working on this here. I'm not sure he can hear you until the mic works. Just a moment.
Well, I should know how to do that myself, shouldn't I? Excellent presentation, Mark. And it's not your job, but are there any human caused things we can do, like desalinization or something, to try to fix this?
Yeah, I really appreciate that question. It's a great one. What you implied is something I really agree with, that the best role of a scientist is to be the eyes for society and tell them what you're seeing, and not go so hard on telling society what to do about it. We have people who understand economics and politics, which I don't have a clue about, who really know what's feasible and what's not. But what I will say is that if these climate models are correct, and if the warming trend is going to continue, then as long as we're not going to get a big increase in precipitation to compensate, then the writing is on the wall. There's going to be less water in the future than we have had in the past. And that means that we need to be more efficient with our water, or we need to find new sources of water. 80% of the water that we use in the Western United States is used by agriculture. When there's a big drought, we who live in urban areas, we do a pretty good job at making cuts by watering our lawns less and taking shorter showers, and those things are important. But the elephant in the room is agriculture. There's just no way that we can use less Colorado River water without making a cut to the amount of water going toward agriculture. You mentioned desalinization. I do think that cities can and should basically buy insurance plans for themselves by building desalinization plants to become less reliant on these remote sources of water. The thing about desalinization plants is that they're expensive to build and they're expensive to maintain. Californians have a long history of forgetfulness. We tend to build these desalinization plants and other ways to weather droughts during severe droughts. Some of you probably remember the 76, 77 drought that caused a whole bunch of new policy changes and desalinization plants we built. But then when wet conditions inevitably come back for a couple of years, it's convenient to forget and stop paying the big expenses on these insurance policies. In the future, we can't forget that probably the normal year is going to be getting drier and drier on average, despite the occurrence of the occasional very wet year that might make us want to forget.
Thank you. Any other questions in the room? Sandeepa, did you have any questions in chat? Hearing none. Professor Williams, thank you so much for being with us today. This year we're highlighting the new Rotary area of focus, the environment. In your honor, we're making a donation to the Environmental Sustainability Rotary Action Group, SRAG, towards their focus on biodiversity, sustainable living, pollution, the climate, food systems, and a circular economy. Thank you so much for being a part of our meeting today. Sandeep, did you have any other bell ringers out there?
No bell ringers, but I don't know if you heard me a little while ago. We did have several questions for Park Williams. I'm not
Okay, you got another question? Go ahead.
Yeah.
I'll give you one more minute.
Okay, so Isaac asks, can you say anything about how this will all manifest for microclimate of Oakland? What is the likely next 50 to 100 years look like for a place like ours in terms of climate, sea level rise, etc.? And related, are these areas around the world that will be, are there areas around the world that will be winners in all these shifts, or too early or hard to say?
You used 1 minute, 10 seconds, Sandeep.
Okay, well, I'll try and answer very, very briefly, because I know that we all have to go here in a second. In Oakland, one interesting thing is that during periods of extended drought, when there's less water coming out of the Sierra Nevada and through the Delta and into the Bay, then the salt concentration of the Bay actually increases substantially. And so ecosystems that are sensitive to changes in salt concentration are especially impacted by drought. I just think that's interesting and something that's not on people's mind oftentimes. Coastal areas in general are buffered a little bit from the harsh impacts of climate change on drought and heat waves, because it's tough to change the temperature of a giant ocean. And you may have noticed that at night, your temperature of the air is almost exactly what the temperature of the Pacific Ocean is, unless the air is coming from inland. And so it will not warm as fast in Oakland as it will across the interior West, but your water security is nonetheless quite sensitive to what's going on in the interior West. Your water supply largely comes from the Sierra Nevada, and so snowpacks in the Sierra Nevada are really important. And even though your water supply is not very, you're not taking water directly out of the Colorado River, you are still sensitive, it turns out, to what's going on with the Colorado River, because Southern California agriculture and cities are using Colorado River water. And if they get cut off from Colorado River water, then Northern California knows from history that Southern California comes knocking very quickly. I know that didn't touch all of the question, but I also know that we need to run, and I thank you all for listening to me.
Thank you, Professor Williams. CJ Hirschfield, are you out there?
Yes, I am, President Dudley.
Tell us about next week's speaker.
Yes, sir. Well, next week, join us in the shadows as we discuss the dark, often cynical crime tales reflecting American malaise. Oh, yes, and there are those femme fatales. Our guest will be the acknowledged czar of noir, Eddie Muller, host of Turner Classic Movies Noir Alley and author of Dark City. His acclaimed Film Noir Festival is moving to Oakland's Grand Lake Theater this month after decades in San Francisco. You will not want to miss hearing from this famed noircheologist.
Thank you, CJ. And thank you. I'm getting us out within 2 minutes here. Thank you, everyone. Jean Raines, thank you so much for giving us a thought for the day. Renea and Kathy, actually Jean and Dawn, are you still here? I know she was. I was going to ask you to go to the back and greet people on the way back. You got one more duty. There we go, Dawn. Dawn's back there too. Okay, Jean, thank you so much. Renea, Kathy, Dawn, Linda Hamilton. I'm going to go around. Michael Bruck, Tom Love, Jack McAvoy, Sheldon Crandall, and who's that other guy sitting down there? Jerry. I know, I'm trying to get you to turn around, smile, Jerry. Thank you, Jerry. Thank you so much for being with us today. And Bob Peltz online, how could I forget Bob? And Capp, Lyons, wherever you are out there, what was it, 56 years of perfect attendance? I challenge you to get 4 meetings of perfect attendance. Come on. Okay, John Holmgren, Leanne Alameda, thank you so much for the ORE campaign. David Stein for introducing. Park Williams, thank you so much for being our speaker today. CJ for introducing. And Jack Isles is off right now. I asked him to come to the meeting. I didn't acknowledge him. I want to thank Jack Isles and Sandeepa Nayak for running AV for 6 months under the hardest conditions, actually for a year and a half. Jack and Sandeepa, thank you so much for doing this. And Ralph and team now, yay! Okay, I want to thank everybody for being with us today. Remember, we are Rotary, serve to change lives, and don't keep Rotary a secret. This meeting is adjourned.